BRAINY presents 10 Reasons Why People Hate Talking to You. Let's get brutally honest for a second. If conversations keep dying when you start talking, it might not be a coincidence. And the worst part? You probably have no idea why it's happening. You may think you're being friendly or relatable, but certain habits can make people avoid texting back, dodge calls, or feel relieved when you walk away. It sucks, I know, but the good news is these patterns can be unlearned. And once you spot them, everything starts to shift. Not only will your interactions improve, but the way people respond to you will change in ways you didn't expect. So stick around, because I'm gonna go over the 10 real reasons why people secretly hate talking to you, and what you can do to stop sabotaging your own conversations. Number 1, talking only about yourself. Sure, it's good to be open and share things about your life. It helps build meaningful connections. However, when most of your conversations revolve around your own thoughts, stories, or problems, it's a sign you're lacking self-awareness. When you rarely ask questions or shift the focus, talking to you starts to get one-sided fast, and people feel more like an audience than a participant. Even if they smile and nod, they're mentally checking out. It doesn't matter how interesting your stories are. If others don't feel included in the dialogue, they'll eventually stop engaging. Number 2, interrupting constantly. One of the worst habits that make people hate talking to you is the tendency to speak over them before they finish their thought. You might cut in to finish their sentence, jump ahead to your own point, or change the direction of the conversation midstream. You think you're contributing, but from their perspective, you're hijacking the conversation. Whether it stems from social anxiety, impatience, or the urge to connect, cutting someone off makes them feel dismissed. And when people start feeling like their voice doesn't matter around you, they'll think twice before trying to share again. Number 3, one-upping every story. This is one of those negative traits that people quietly resent. When someone shares something about their life, be it a personal win, a challenge, or just an ordinary moment, and your instinct is to follow it with a bigger, better, or more dramatic version of your own, it creates a subtle imbalance. This behavior makes it hard for others to feel acknowledged. Even if you're not doing it on purpose, it can come across as dismissive or self-centered. In time, people will start holding back, and not because they're intimidated, but they've learned that sharing something with you often leads to being overshadowed, and that kind of dynamic wears thin quickly. Number 4, being chronically negative. Venting now and then can actually strengthen relationships. When done in moderation, sharing frustrations helps people bond through empathy and mutual understanding. It's a key part of building rapport. But when every interaction turns into a list of complaints, or everything has a negative spin, it stops being connecting and starts feeling heavy. Eventually, people begin to associate your presence with tension or emotional fatigue. And while they might not say anything, they'll start keeping their distance just to protect their own mood. Number 5, trying to be right all the time. Conversations aren't competitions, but when you constantly correct people, argue over details, or feel the need to prove a point every single time, that's exactly how they feel. What might seem like clarity or logic to you can come off as rigid or combative to others, and this drains their desire to keep the interaction going. Most people aren't looking to be fact-checked in casual exchange. They're looking to feel heard, understood, and respected. When that gets replaced with constant challenges, it creates distance. You may win the argument, but you'll lose the connection. And that's a big reason why people might hate talking to you, even if they never say it out loud. Number 6, humble bragging or flexing. Of course, we all want to be more likable and impressive. But here's the truth. Humble bragging or flexing doesn't create admiration, it creates distance. From casually mentioning your income to who you know, or how tough it is juggling success, this conversational habit makes you come across rather disingenuous and self-serving. You see, people can pick up on when you're fishing for admiration, And when conversations feel more like status updates instead of genuine exchanges, people start pulling away. Number 7, playing the victim in every story. There's a big difference between opening up versus constantly positioning yourself as the underdog in every situation. If you're always the one who's misunderstood, betrayed, or mistreated, people start to question your perspective, or worse, your honesty. It's emotionally draining to be around someone who sees life through a lens of victimhood. Others may initially offer support, but eventually the empathy turns into discomfort. It just feels manipulative. Number 8, using passive-aggressive remarks. If you're someone who lacks in the emotional intelligence department, you likely overlook how your words make people uncomfortable. Instead of being direct, you rely on sarcasm or veiled criticism to express frustration. Yeah, people might play along or give you the benefit of the doubt, but over time, the constant undercurrent of judgment or resentment wears them down. And guess what happens when they no longer feel safe being themselves around you? Because they never know when a casual moment will be met with a subtle dig. Exactly. Number 9, talking in circles. Rambling without direction, going on irrelevant tangents, or endlessly re-explaining your thoughts is another one of those behaviors that make people dislike talking to you. Now, you don't have to sound scripted or speak in bullet points, but you do need to be aware of how long you're talking without saying anything concrete. People value clarity, pace, and a sense of where the conversation is going. If every exchange feels like a maze with no end, they'll lose interest and stop engaging. Number 10, never letting the conversation end naturally. Knowing when to wrap things up is just as important as knowing what to say. Some conversations are light, in-the-moment exchanges that aren't meant to go on forever, and that's perfectly okay. But when you miss those subtle signs, like short answers, glancing at the time, or saying, "I should get going," it creates tension. Nobody likes to get stuck in a conversation that feels impossible to exit. Dragging things out with last-minute thoughts, repeated points, or unnecessary meandering turns a simple exchange into something others have to endure, which makes them want to avoid starting one in the first place. The bottom line is, conversation is a skill, and if you're struggling, you need to learn to overcome these invisible communication barriers. If you want to be memorable and build meaningful connections, start by being emotionally available and truly present. Ditch the urge to impress and pay attention to how you make people feel. Understanding social cues goes beyond reading others. It's also about respecting them. In the end, the best conversations aren't the ones where you talk the most. They're the ones where you leave people feeling better than they did before you open your mouth. If this video gave you something to think about, give it a like, leave a comment, and share it with someone who'd also find value in it. Be sure to subscribe if you appreciate honest, down-to-earth content on topics that actually matter. Thanks for watching.